We are one of Europe's five great powers, but only in military might. When it comes to the economic sector, we are lagging behind the rest of Europe. But unlike most nations in Europe, which have to focus on their military before their economy, we're already secured. We have an alliance with the Russians and the Austrians, guaranteeing each other's independence. Along with that, because of our sheer military might, we are able to immediately begin economic works to build factories in Berlin, along with establishing farms in the Rhineland. But before we can turn fully into economic development, we need to look to the international stage. Not even a decade ago, the Kingdom of the Netherlands collapsed into a civil war between the government and Belgian nationalists. But due to great power intervention, the war was ended with an independent Belgium, a nation that we do not fully support, due to them changing the balance of power on the continent. But still, the question of a Belgium must be solved. To that end, the British are calling for a conference in London to solve the question of what is Belgium and what should the borders look like. To look good on the international stage, we'll support a 50-50 solution favoring Dutch claims. But while we wait for the other great powers to make our decision, we will turn and begin our economic works. Along with that, privateers are sailing to Africa to determine whether a colony would be in the best interest for Prussia. While they're off on their adventure, the Conference of London has concluded, favoring Belgian claims over our proposed 50-50 favoring Dutch claims. Though this is a minor international humiliation, it isn't that big of a problem. But now with the international community satisfied, we will turn fully to our economic works, taking out massive loans from the British and the French to complete our factories before the year is out. The year is now 1841. The continent has shifted massively. Not only have we become an economic superpower along with the British and the French, but the Austrians have backstabbed the alliance, going to war with the Russians. This is bad news for the Austrians and the Russians, but a great opportunity for us. With the Austrians looking at Poland, we can turn north to the Danish territory of Schleswig-Holstein, a territory populated by ethnic Germans. With guarantees from the British not to get involved, and Russia and Austria are busy fighting their own war, we doubt the French will get involved, which means we'll be able to militarily seize the territory along with colonies in West Africa, which our explorers have determined is the best spot for a super colony. And so we do not have any time to waste. We need to secure the territory before the war between the Austrians and the Russians ends and they can turn their armies against us. The war was over in less than 7 months. This has reinforced our position on the world stage as a great power. Along with that, we now have a colonial empire in the territories of the Gold Coast and the Niger Delta. Now, we'll send explorers to the territories to expand the colonies and reinforce our position in the area. But now we can turn to ourselves yet again, more specifically, a revolution in Vienna. Though it was crushed by their Kaiser, demands for a united Germany, not a confederation, growing stronger and stronger. And because of that, we have taken up the mantle as the unifiers of all German people. But the Austrians are challenging our authority. A war with the Austrians is inevitable now. But we can't risk the Russians getting involved. Because of that, we'll offer them and the Bavarians concessions. For the Russians, trade concessions. To the Bavarians, the entire territory of the southern Rhineland in exchange for them joining the war against the Austrians. We'll take another year or two to prepare, but then we'll move in, secure Vienna, cripple the Austrians. 3 years later, the war is won, and with that, a victory for the German people. With the Austrian Empire after the war fracturing into many different states, we were able to declare the North German Confederation without any resistance. And with that, we've grown. Internationally, we are now ranked 3 as a great power, and there's no signs of us stopping. But before we can return to consolidate our own lands, a new war is already beginning. A massive armada will be sent to West Africa in order to build a mega colony that would supply the entirety of Germany, the richest of Africa. Great news from Africa has also arrived. A super colony has been established, stretching across the entire territory of Nigeria and the Gold Coast. With that, we'll issue small building projects to establish an economic dominance in the region. We've also gained an opportunity to fully unite the German people. The remaining South German states are fully supporting unification, but the French aren't allowing it, saying that it would disrupt the balance of power too much. Though we wish to unite the southern German states and proclaim a German empire and not a North German Confederation, we are not ready for a war with the French. Though our armies alone could most likely hold off the French, on the economic sector we are in massive debt. So the plan is to sit back for 5 to 6 years and pay off our debt so we'd be able to fund the war. Along with that, a military council will be established to dictate how we should fight the war, along with improving our army with luxury goods from Africa, which have begun to flow into the North German Confederation. 5 years later, there is a crisis on our hands. We were not able to eliminate our debt in time and it is climbing at an alarming rate. The only good news is that we managed to improve our army to the point where we are confident that we can win a war against the French. But we need to act now. Our debt is climbing and it soon will be in default. If that happens, we can kiss our dreams of uniting the German people goodbye. So to war we go. We must end this war quickly or else all will be lost. 3 years later, we have finally won the war, but it wasn't easy. Hundreds of thousands are dead on both sides, and the economic situation has turned into a full-on recession, with active revolt happening across our Polish territories. And now with the war over, we have a plan to recover economically. We'll make the French pay for it. We'll force them to give tens of thousands of francs per week that will be used to pay off our debts and subsidize our industries until they can fund themselves. Along with that, we have annexed the territory of Alsace-Lorraine and unified with the southern German states. With that, to humiliate the French even more, our Kaiser has traveled to Verdun and proclaimed the end of the North German Confederation. We are now the German Empire. Long live the Kaiser and his Kaiserreich. But now we must stay inside our borders and recover economically. The only way for this new Germany to survive is if it's economically strong. While this is happening, the Kaiser will hold a small conference in Berlin to discuss how we should approach foreign affairs. Many years later after the war, the situation in Germany has improved dramatically. With all of our debts paid off, the recession has ended, allowing for economic prosperity throughout all of Germany. But though the German economy is one of the fastest growing on the continent, things are still not great. More specifically, the government, which for the entirety of our economic recovery has been in deadlock. This has shown the German people the flaws of our current system of government. The people have been calling on a government system more along a parliamentary republic instead of a constitutional monarchy. Because of the political pressure, our current king has decided to abdicate, handing the throne over to his son. Anti-government protests ramp up, an unforeseen event has transpired. The new Kaiser fully backing the protesters. Because of that, the government has been forced to bend. So after 2 months of deliberation, along with pressure from the Kaiser, the government has decided to disband and reform. Because of that, we are no longer an empire. We are a semi-republic. The reason I say semi is because the monarchy has not been abolished, though its role in government will be very limited. Though the Kaiser will have final say on any and all laws formed, he will not have any form of political power inside Germany apart from that. More specifically, he will be in charge of foreign affairs. Since the coronation of our new Kaiser, the conference held in Berlin has finally ended, giving us a plan for the future. An economic alliance called the Reichspakt. This will be an economic alliance between European nations, and the Kaiser will be the head of this organization. And with that, he's begun a massive project to establish and expand the Reichspakt. Formerly, he has invited Switzerland into the Reichspakt, our cultural brother, which gladly accepted. Along with that, he has begun diplomatic talks with Galicia, Lombardia, Hungary, and Croatia, former states of the Austrian Empire. Along with these negotiations, he has sanctioned building projects to gain influence over these three nations, while also making plans for diplomatic talks with the North Italian states. But while our king is off expanding our economic sphere, The Minister of War has proposed a plan to knock out Austria and Russia permanently. Along Austrian lines, the Bohemians have been protesting for their independence after the most recent war, and Russia is a vast ethnically diverse empire with many peoples wishing for independence. Independent states that could join the new Reichspakt. Because of that, our government has sanctioned for the Ministry of War to make plans for an invasion of Austria and an invasion of Russia. And while we wait for these plans to be formalized, we'll mobilize our troops and station them on the Austrian border, and wait until the time is right. With the plan now formalized, the time has come to liberate Bohemia and permanently crush the Austrians. With the war now over, Austria will no longer be able to check our authority in Central Europe. Along with that, the Bohemians have been given their independence, and efforts to integrate them into the Reichspakt have begun. Along with that, the Ministry of War has came to us with a plan to invade Russia, to liberate Poland, transfer the Baltic states to us, and even a plan to liberate Ukraine. It's a bold plan, which means we will not enact it immediately like we did with the Austrians. It will take multiple years to prepare for this war, but we can't wait forever. The Russians are modernizing at an alarming rate. The Ministry of War has declared by 1890, if we have not invaded the Russians, they will become too powerful to be checked. So with that, we'll make the preparations, but in the meantime, we'll continue economic works. The only way our military can be strong is if the home front is secured. While we were in the midst of our construction efforts, the Kaiser was preparing for another round of investments to hit Hungary when unexpected news arrived from Budapest. Hardline communists instigated a revolt that led to a full-on civil war. Because of this, Hungary has triggered the defensive pact that we signed with in the beginning of the 1870s. With that, we will deploy one of our most experienced armies to the region. But while we were mobilizing, news came from Switzerland that another hardline communist group has begun an active revolt that led into a full-scale civil war in Switzerland. With that, they have also triggered the defensive pact that we signed with them. And because of that, we will also mobilize an additional army to send over to Switzerland. But then, news from Pomerania, our own region. Hardline communists have instigated a full-scale revolt. Because of this, we have mobilized the entirety of the Reich's army and plan to march into Budapest, Baden, and Pomerania to end these hardline communists, which seemingly have instigated the revolts at the same time as some part of a coordinated effort. Though we'll be fighting a war on 3 fronts, we have just completed army reforms and expansion, meaning our army is more than capable of handling a 3-front, even a 5-front war against these communists. 2 years later, after we had wrapped up the wars in Hungary, Switzerland, and Pomerania, we were continuing our economic works when an opportunity to invade Russia presented itself. A British-Ottoman alliance is at war with Russia, but are struggling to push through the northern Caucasus into the Russian heartland. Because of this, and because the Russian army would be split on 2 fronts, the Ministry of War has said that this is our best chance to defeat Russia. Because of that, we've opened negotiations with the British and the Ottomans, agreeing to join the war as long as we have free reign in eastern Russia. With that, we sent the Russian government our demands: the liberation of Poland, and to transfer their puppet states of Finland and the Baltic states to us. Predictably, they have refused, and so we declared war. It is time to defeat this Russian menace once and for all. With that, we got everything we wanted and more. We got Finland and the Baltic states as puppet states, which immediately joined the Reichspakt. Meanwhile, we liberated Poland, and our Kaiser has already begun a wave of investments to encourage them to join the Reichspakt on their own. And with that, we have forced heavy war reparations on the Russians. This means we'll be able to expand and fund our public works without going into severe debt. And now we plan to sit back for a while the Ministry of War prepares a third plan. A plan to fully unite the German people. 2.5 years later, after the Russian War, we are ready for this last great war, to fully unite the German people into our Kaiserreich. More specifically, the complete annexation of the remnants of the Austrian Empire and their puppet of Tuscany in northern Italy. We don't need to have a dragged-out conversation for Kaiser and country. We'll simply invade and seize both countries. With that, that was our easiest war to date. The Austrians put up zero resistance, and Tuscany folded almost immediately. With that, we've established a puppet government in Tuscany and fully annexed Austria. With that, Poland has also joined the Reichspakt. We are the world's greatest power, rivaled only by the British. Our Reichspakt spans from Helsinki to Rome, with a massive army to ensure its survival. Along with that, the Reichspakt has become more than an economic alliance. It's become a military one. Each nation in the Reichspakt vowing to protect each other if even one power should attack. With that, our super colony in West Africa has also become semi-independent. We no longer have to pour in millions of marks into the colony to develop it. They are now able to develop themselves. And with that, we will spend the rest of the century consolidating all of our gains across Europe and Africa. Glory to God, the Kaiser, and the Republic.